Jungkook froze when Jimin said this on live camera. The moment went viral. You still don't remember what happened that night, do you? The words cut like shattered glass in the silence of the studio. The soft whir of the overhead lights and distant hum of production equipment faded into static as the world around Jungkook seemed to slow. He stared at Jimin, eyes wide, jaw slack, because in the 12 years they'd known each other, Jimin had never looked at him like this. Not like someone desperate, not like someone broken. The live stream kept rolling. Fans watching around the globe flooded the chat with heart emojis, laughing at what they thought was an inside joke. But Jungkook wasn't laughing. His fingers, which seconds ago strummed the neck of his guitar during their impromptu, live jam, now curled slowly into a tight, pale fist. His throat clenched. What are you talking about? Jungkook's voice was barely a whisper. Jimin smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. The fire, the cliff, us. He leaned forward, his tone still deceptively casual for the camera, but there was a tremor beneath the words. A chill rippled down Jungkook's spine, not from the words alone, but from the way Jimin said us. Like a key turning in a lock Jungkook didn't remember installing. Someone from the production team waved behind the camera, trying to subtly signal them to keep the mood light, but the moment had already slipped through their fingers like smoke. Outside the studio, Seoul's neon-lit skyline pulsed with life, unaware that inside this glass-paneled rooftop room, something fragile was fracturing, something deep, ancient. Jungkook blinked, trying to speak, but memories clawed at the edges of his mind like shadows trying to force their way into the light. A flash, wet asphalt, the smell of burning rubber, Jimin screaming his name in the rain. No, that never happened, did it? The live chat exploded with theories, some playful, others eerily accurate. What did Jimin mean? Jungkook looked shook face, screaming in fear. Was that a secret confession? Flushed face. But neither of them read the comments anymore. Jimin straightened, smoothing invisible wrinkles from his sleeve. Maybe we should tell them everything. Jungkook stood abruptly, knocking over the stool behind him. The sound of it clattering echoed like a gunshot through the hollow of his chest. Turn it off, he said. A tech assistant panicked off camera, whispering into a headset. The feed didn't cut. Cameras still rolled. Millions still watched. Jimin didn't move. You owe me the truth. And just like that, the curtain began to lift, on a story they'd buried beneath fame, rehearsals, and a carefully curated image. It wasn't always microphones and music videos. Before the spotlight, there was a promise. A night that changed them. A secret that could break everything. Jungkook's mind reeled back, fighting against the fog in his own memory. There had been a trip. They were still trainees, an abandoned lodge, one lost night. A scream, a fire, then blankness. Why are you doing this now? He asked hoarsely, eyes locking with Jimin's. On camera. Because you keep pretending it didn't happen, Jimin said, and I can't carry it alone anymore. Something behind Jungkook's eyes cracked. Emotion, raw and unfiltered, rushed to the surface. Do you even know what you're asking me to remember? He whispered. Jimin only nodded. And finally, the screen went black. But the damage had already been done. The clip, just under 2 minutes, would be sliced, reposted, looped, and analyzed 1,000 ways by morning. The world would want answers. But for Jungkook and Jimin, the reckoning had already begun. Not with the world, but with each other, and with the past they tried so hard to forget. You think going public will fix us? Jungkook's voice echoed in the narrow hallway behind the studio, the door slamming shut behind them with a violent thud that startled a passing intern. His cap was pulled low now, hair damp with sweat, breath shaky. Jimin stood a few steps away, back pressed to the concrete wall, arms crossed tight over his chest as if holding something inside, something dangerous. I'm not trying to fix us, Jimin said quietly. I'm trying to stop pretending we're not broken. Jungkook laughed, sharp and bitter. You just said the fire, the cliff, us in front of 6 million people. That wasn't a cry for help, that was a detonation. You are broken, Jungkook, Jimin snapped, eyes narrowing, and you've been hiding it behind perfect choreography and fake smiles. Don't look at me like I'm the villain here. I kept my silence for years. And now you choose a live stream. Jungkook stepped closer, his voice dropping, intimate and angry. You think that was brave? You think traumatizing me in real time was the heroic thing to do? Jimin didn't flinch. I think letting you forget was killing you slowly. They stared at each other, breath heavy, memories clawing at the seams of their skin. Jungkook turned away suddenly, fists clenched at his sides. I didn't forget, he said, voice barely audible. I buried it. Jimin's heart seized. You remember. Jungkook closed his eyes. Behind his eyelids, the moonlit road, the crash, the scream that was too high to be human. Jimin's hand, bloodied, shaking, gripping his, the taste of copper. Then fire, swallowing the cabin they'd run from. Shadows too fast to be people, a silence too loud to be nature. Not everything, he admitted, but I remember enough to wish I didn't. Jimin's voice softened, trembling now. Then you know why I couldn't stay silent anymore. Jungkook faced him again, something shifting in his expression, a crack in the armor. You saw it too, that thing in the woods, that whatever the hell it was. Jimin didn't answer with words. He reached slowly into the inside pocket of his jacket and pulled out a small, scorched object. A lighter, gold-plated. The initials JK barely visible beneath the ash stains. Jungkook recoiled as if struck. That's not no, that burned. I threw it into the fire. I remember watching it melt. I went back, Jimin said. 2 years ago, I needed answers. This was all that was left. Silence stretched between them, heavy and unbearable. Jungkook looked down at the lighter in Jimin's palm, then back at his face. Why didn't you tell me? I tried, Jimin whispered. 12 times. But every time I looked at you, I saw the boy who almost died for me, and I couldn't do that to you again. There was a beat of stillness, and then the hallway lights flickered. They both looked up. Jungkook's breath caught. Please tell me that's just bad wiring. I don't think we ever left that night behind, Jimin murmured. Suddenly, a door slammed open at the far end of the corridor. Taehyung appeared, face pale, phone in hand. Taehyung, you're trending in 30 countries. People are saying it was a confession. Some think it's about a relationship, some think it's a cover-up for something darker. There's a thread with 1 million views already calling it the soul ritual. Jungkook groaned. What the hell is that supposed to mean? They're saying, there's footage from back then, a leaked video, something from that night. Jimin's head snapped toward him. That's not possible. Taehyung swallowed. Apparently someone's uploading pieces of it, grainy clips, a cabin, screaming, a fire, your voices. Jungkook felt the world sway beneath him. No one was supposed to have cameras. Jimin's jaw clenched. Unless someone followed us. They looked at each other, and everything unsaid screamed louder than their voices ever could. Jungkook felt his chest tighten. We need to find out who's behind this. And fast, Taehyung added, because the next episode of your lives is already being written by strangers. Back in the hallway, Jungkook reached for the lighter in Jimin's hand. His fingers hovered above it but didn't touch. Do you believe in ghosts? He asked softly. Jimin looked him dead in the eye. No, I believe in consequences. And far away, behind layers of digital walls and shadowed screens, someone uploaded the next clip. A grainy image. 2 boys running through the woods, fire behind them, something dark following close behind, moving in ways no human ever should. It was only the beginning. You need to see this, Taehyung said, breathless, shoving the phone into Jungkook's hands. The video began with static, muffled sounds, wind whistling through trees, heavy breathing, something crunching underfoot. The screen flickered. Then it snapped into shape. A cabin, the same one, slanted roof, half-broken porch. It looked like it had been swallowed by the forest itself. Jungkook's blood turned to ice. The date stamp on the bottom corner read, August 18, 2014, the night everything burned. Impossible, Jimin murmured. That footage should not exist. Then came the voices, faint at first, distorted, but unmistakable. Run. Don't look back. Jimin. The scream echoed out from the phone's tiny speaker, and Jungkook felt it pierce through the years like a hot blade. He looked at Jimin, whose face had gone blank, the color drained completely. "That was you," Jungkook said, stunned. "You screamed like that." Jimin didn't respond. The clip ended abruptly, cutting to black, followed by white text. "This is not fiction. This is not forgotten. The debt is still unpaid." Underneath, a countdown timer. 72:00:00. 72 hours. Before what? "I don't understand," Taehyung whispered. "Who has this? Who would even?" "Someone who was there," Jimin said flatly. "Or someone who wants us to believe they were." Jungkook shook his head, his chest tight. "We were alone, you and me, no one else." "That's what we thought." Jimin turned toward him, something hard in his eyes. "But we were wrong about a lot of things, weren't we?" Jungkook wanted to argue, but the memories he'd worked so hard to bury were rising now like corpses breaching the surface of a frozen lake. That night, it was supposed to be a simple retreat. Just a getaway between two desperate trainees trying to escape the pressure for one weekend. But there had been something in the woods. A shape, a shadow, a whisper that wasn't wind. Jungkook hadn't just thrown the lighter into the fire. He offered it. That memory returned now, horrifying and vivid. He'd stood in front of the blaze, heart pounding, whispering words he didn't understand, the lighter held high as if in tribute. Jimin behind him, crying, begging him to stop. And then it had all gone black. "I think we were tricked," Jungkook whispered. "I think we did something back then, something that summoned whatever that was." "Or someone," Jimin said, "and now they're back." The hallway lights flickered again. For a moment, all three of them froze. Then Taehyung's phone vibrated in Jungkook's hand. A notification, a new upload. This time, it wasn't the cabin. It was a shot from earlier today. From inside the studio. The same moment when Jimin had said the now viral phrase, the fire, the cliff, us. But in this version, there was another voice layered faintly beneath theirs. A fourth voice, cold, low, inhuman. "Return what you took." Jungkook dropped the phone like it had burned him. No, that's fake. It has to be fake." "I heard it too," Jimin said, his voice unsteady. "I didn't take anything," Jungkook shouted. "You don't know that," Jimin said quietly. "You don't remember." Taehyung looked between them, confused and terrified. "What is this? Are you guys cursed or something? This feels like a damn horror movie." "No," Jungkook said, slowly backing away. "This is something else, this is." He stopped, his head jerked toward the exit door at the end of the hall. It was open. Just a crack. And beyond it, he saw it. A figure, tall, still, wearing the old trainee hoodie they'd been issued back in 2014. The kind only a few of them ever had. The logo was faded, almost unreadable. The figure raised one hand. Jungkook blinked. It was gone. He stumbled backward, breath shaking. "Did you see that?" "See what?" Taehyung asked. "Someone was just," he looked at Jimin. "You didn't see it." "No." But Jimin's voice was off, too calm. "Jimin," Jungkook said slowly, "how long have you been remembering things I did?" Jimin's gaze dropped to the floor. "Since 2 years ago." "Why didn't you tell me then?" "I was waiting," Jimin said, "to see if you'd remember on your own, to see if it was really you." "What the hell does that mean?" Jimin looked up at him now, tears brimming in his eyes. "Because that night, I wasn't sure you ever came back." Something snapped inside Jungkook. "Are you saying what? That I'm not me?" "I don't know," Jimin cried. "All I know is that you changed. You went quiet, you never spoke about it, you forgot everything, and I couldn't carry both our memories." The tension fractured into silence. Then Jungkook stepped forward and grabbed Jimin by the shoulders. "Then tell me everything," he said, "right now." Jimin nodded slowly. "There was a ritual," he began. "A book in the cabin. Latin, I think. You read from it. You were shaking. I tried to stop you, but something had already started. You said you wanted to erase the fear, that you were tired of being afraid. that you would give anything to be free. Jungkook's hands trembled on Jimin's shoulders. You said, Jimin's voice cracked, take me, just let him go. And then it hit him. The blackout, the blank years, the reason Jimin had always looked at him like he was made of glass. I was the offering, Jungkook whispered. You offered yourself, but the fire didn't take you, Jimin said. Something else did. And the countdown, now ticking at 71 hours, wasn't about memory. It was about collection. From somewhere outside, a bell rang. 1 chime. 2. 3. Jungkook felt the weight of it in his chest. Time wasn't just counting down. It was coming for him. The rain began without warning. It hammered against the studio's glass walls like thousands of desperate fists, distorting the city into trembling streaks of neon. The hallway that had felt too small now felt impossibly vast, as if it were stretching itself around Jungkook, bending reality to make him feel alone. Taehyung had left, dragged away by managers who smelled crisis in the air like sharks scent blood. Cameras were gone. Staff were gone. Only Jungkook and Jimin remained, standing in a corridor that felt haunted by every word unsaid between them. Jungkook pressed his palm flat against the cold glass, watching the rain blur Seoul into something unrecognizable. So I sold myself without even knowing it, he said quietly. Jimin leaned against the wall opposite him, eyes red, posture exhausted in a way that no amount of fame could disguise. You didn't sell yourself, he replied, voice raw. You tried to save me. Jungkook let out a bitter laugh. That makes it worse. A distant thunder cracked, vibrating through the building. The lights flickered once, twice, then steadied. You said I changed after that night, Jungkook continued, still staring out into the storm. How? Jimin swallowed, choosing his words carefully. You became calm. Too calm, like fear didn't live in you anymore. You stopped flinching at loud sounds. You stopped having nightmares. You stopped crying over anything. Jungkook turned slowly. That sounds good. It wasn't, Jimin snapped. It was terrifying. You weren't numb, you were empty in places you shouldn't have been empty. You laughed when we watched a horror movie about possession. You said it was cute. You used to be afraid of the dark, Jungkook. After that night, you could sit in a pitch-black room and smile. Jungkook's jaw tightened. So you think something replaced me? Jimin didn't look away. I think something took a part of you. Silence settled between them, heavy and suffocating. Then Jungkook pushed off the glass and stepped closer, so close their breaths almost mingled. And you lived with that for years, watching me every day, wondering if I was still me. Jimin's eyes shone. Every rehearsal, every stage, every smile you gave the world, I was always asking myself if it was yours. Jungkook's voice broke. Why didn't you leave? Jimin let out a shaky breath, almost a laugh. Because I loved you too much to walk away from something that still looked like you. The words hung in the air, unfiltered, dangerous, honest. Jungkook's chest rose and fell fast now. Don't say that like it's simple. It isn't, Jimin whispered. Nothing about this is. Thunder rolled again, closer this time. The hallway lights dimmed for a heartbeat. Jungkook suddenly grabbed Jimin's wrist, too tight. Tell me about the ritual again. Everything. Exactly what I said. Jimin hesitated, then nodded. You found the book under a loose floorboard in the cabin. Leather-bound, pages brittle. You said it felt like it was calling you. I thought you were joking. You were. A shiver ran through Jungkook. You lit the fire in the hearth, Jimin continued. Not the stove, the old stone hearth that hadn't been used in years. You placed your lighter on the mantel like an offering. Then you started speaking in a language you didn't know. Jungkook closed his eyes, flashes of memory cutting through him like lightning. The smell of smoke, the heat on his face, the way the flames had seemed to lean toward him. What did I say? He demanded. Jimin's voice dropped to a whisper. You said, take what I can live without. Jungkook felt the words like a blow. And then, he pressed. Then the fire roared, Jimin said, voice trembling now. Not like normal fire, it breathed, and you stepped closer. I pulled you back, but you pushed me away. You told me, Jimin's breath hitched. You told me to run. The rain outside intensified, drumming against the glass in a frantic rhythm. Jungkook released Jimin's wrist and stepped back, running both hands through his hair. So something listened. Something listened, Jimin echoed. A low vibration filled the air. Not thunder this time, but something deeper, reverberating through the walls like a distant heartbeat. Both of them froze. Jungkook's gaze snapped toward the exit door again, the one that had been cracked open earlier. It was closed now. Too neatly. Jimin noticed it too. Did you lock that? No. The handle turned, slowly, deliberately, then stopped. Jungkook's pulse hammered in his ears. If this is a prank. A soft knock sounded on the other side of the door. 1, 2, 3. Measured, polite, wrong. Jimin's voice was barely audible. Don't answer it. Jungkook swallowed, heart racing, but something inside him, something cold, something curious, stepped forward. He crossed the hallway, every footstep feeling unreal, like he was walking through water instead of air. His hand hovered over the handle. He looked back at Jimin. Whatever happens, Jungkook said, voice steady in a way that scared him, you don't follow me. Jimin shook his head immediately. No, if something takes you again, I'm not standing behind glass watching it happen. Their eyes locked, emotion raw and tangled, fear, love, anger, guilt, all braided together. The knock came again, firmer this time. Jungkook turned back to the door. He twisted the handle. The hallway beyond was empty. Just the slick floor, reflecting the emergency lights. Just the distant echo of rain and thunder. Jungkook stepped out, scanning left and right. Nothing. No figure in a trainee hoodie. No shadow too tall to be human. He exhaled, a shaky, disbelieving laugh slipping from his lips. See, nothing. A whisper brushed past his ear, so close it felt like breath. You still owe. Jungkook spun around. The corridor was still empty. Behind him, Jimin stood frozen in the doorway, face drained of color. Did you hear that? Jungkook didn't answer immediately. His gaze drifted downward, and his breath caught. On the floor, just outside the door, lay his lighter. Not Jimin, burned one. His. Polished, untouched, shining as if it had never seen fire. Initials clear as day, JK. Jimin stepped forward slowly, horror blooming across his features. That burned. I saw it burn. Jungkook crouched, fingers trembling as he reached for it. The metal was cold, too cold, like it had been kept in ice. The moment he touched it, a memory slammed into him with brutal clarity. Him standing before the flames, him speaking words that tasted like ash, him feeling something leave, not pain, but absence, like a door opening inside his chest and never closing again. He inhaled sharply. I remember, Jungkook whispered. Jimin knelt beside him, gripping his shoulders. What do you remember? Jungkook looked up, eyes darker than they had been a moment before. I didn't just offer myself, he said slowly. I made a deal. Rain crashed against the glass. Somewhere in the distance, a bell tolled. Jungkook closed his hand around the lighter. And now, he said, voice low and unwavering, it's come to collect. The lighter felt heavier in Jungkook's hand now. Not in weight, but in meaning. Cold metal bit into his palm, but he didn't flinch. He just stared down at it like it was some relic dredged from a battlefield, one he barely survived, one he may never have left at all. Jimin crouched in front of him, eyes filled with dread, his breath shallow as if fearing that any sound might summon the thing that lingered just beyond their comprehension. What deal? Jimin asked, barely able to get the words out. What do you remember? Jungkook's voice was slow, distant, like he was narrating someone else's memory. It wasn't about saving you, that's what I told myself, but deep down I was afraid. I wasn't offering myself to protect you, Jimin, I was trying to escape. The fear, the shame, the pressure, the cameras, the voices. Jimin shook his head. No, that's not who you were. Jungkook finally looked at him, something ancient and exhausted flickering behind his eyes. You don't know who I was. You only remember the boy you wanted me to be. Jimin recoiled slightly at that, as if slapped. "You're blaming yourself now," he said bitterly. "After everything, you're trying to rewrite it like you deserved what happened." "I didn't deserve it," Jungkook snapped, standing suddenly. "I asked for it." The thunder outside was no longer distant. It was directly overhead now. The whole building trembled as a bolt struck nearby, momentarily plunging the hallway into blackness. When the emergency lights flickered back on, Jimin was on his feet too, blocking the door. "You can't run off again," he said. "Not until you tell me what the hell you actually gave up." Jungkook opened his mouth to speak, but a voice, deep and thunderous, rolled through the air around them. It didn't come from the hallway or from the floor above or from any one place. It came from everywhere. He gave what was not his to give. The lights exploded overhead, glass raining down in bursts of sparks and chaos. Alarms blared. The fire system activated, but instead of water, the sprinkler head sputtered smoke, black, curling, chemical. It seeped into the hallway like living fog. Jimin grabbed Jungkook's arm and pulled him down the emergency stairwell. Feet pounded the steel steps, the world a blur of flashing red and nauseating sound. "What did that voice mean?" Jimin yelled over the sirens. "What did you give?" Jungkook didn't answer until they burst out of the building's side door and into the flooded streets of Seoul. Sirens wailed in the distance. The rain came down in sheets. Neon lights bled across the pavement. He finally turned to Jimin, soaked and shivering. "I gave away my fear," Jungkook said. Jimin blinked. "What?" "In the ritual, it asked me what I could give that I could live without. I said my fear." It felt noble at the time, but I didn't realize fear protects us. It warns us. It reminds us what it means to be human. Jimin stared at him, lips parting. "You haven't been afraid since then." "No, but that's not all," Jungkook said, stepping closer. "Fear isn't just a feeling, it's memories, it's instinct. It's how we remember danger. I didn't just lose my fear, I lost everything tied to it. The memory of that night, the knowledge of what followed, the part of me that knew what we unleashed." Jimin's voice was hoarse. "So the thing that's following us, it's the consequence of you not remembering." Jungkook nodded. "I forgot the rules, I forgot what we owed. I forgot the thing we brought into the world. And now it's here, and it's angry." Lightning cracked again, and for one terrifying second, Jimin saw a silhouette in the reflection of the puddle by their feet. Too tall, too thin, too still. He spun around. Nothing. Jungkook looked at him sharply. "You saw it, didn't you?" Jimin nodded slowly, just for a second. They ran, through alleys past silent cars and closed shops. Somewhere in the chaos, Jungkook's phone buzzed. A notification. One new upload from the seventh oath. Title: "The one who remembers will pay." They ducked into a closed laundromat, the hum of machines the only sound. Jungkook opened the video. This time it was grainier, lower resolution, but unmistakable. It was Jimin. Not now Jimin, then Jimin. In the cabin, screaming, crying, holding something, no someone. Jungkook's body. Limp, eyes closed, pale. The caption beneath the video read. "He didn't wake up, not for hours, but something else did." Jimin stepped back like the phone was radioactive. "That never happened," he whispered. "You woke up right after." But the truth was already eating through his denial. "I didn't, did I?" Jungkook said. "You lied, I was gone." Jimin looked away, shame slicing through him. "I didn't know if it would make things worse," he said. "I thought maybe it was just your mind protecting you. I didn't want to break you." "You already did," Jungkook said softly, "and I broke myself." Then a voice came, not from any screen, not from any phone. From inside the laundromat. Behind the row of dryers. "The contract was never with you alone." They both froze. Jungkook stepped in front of Jimin instinctively. "You said you gave away your fear," the voice said, closer now. But he gave away his silence. The machines began to shake. One by one, dryer doors burst open, and smoke poured out. Jimin's face twisted in horror. "No, I didn't." But he remembered. He remembered the moment he found Jungkook unconscious, bleeding and lifeless, and he remembered what he had whispered into the fire. "Take my silence, just bring him back." Jungkook turned to him, realization hitting like a storm. "You made your own deal." And now the thing they'd both bargained with had come to collect. Not just fear, not just silence, but the very truth they had built their lives on. The smoke rose higher, the voice laughed. "Payment is due, and neither of you will leave unchanged." And then the lights went out. Darkness wrapped around them like a second skin, the kind that didn't just obscure vision, it swallowed it. The smoke curled, alive and whispering, creeping along the tiled floor of the laundromat like it knew their names. Jungkook couldn't see Jimin anymore. He reached out blindly. "Jimin," he shouted. No response. Only the distant creaking of metal. The machines groaning like old bones, their doors opening and closing in slow, rhythmic thuds. "Jimin, say something." "I'm here," came the voice, faint and cracked. I can't move." Jungkook stumbled toward the sound, hands grazing cold plastic and hot steel until he found Jimin slumped against a row of washers, trembling. His eyes were wide open, but unfocused, as if staring into something no one else could see. "Talk to me," Jungkook said, crouching, grabbing his shoulders. "You're not alone. Whatever it's doing to you, fight it." I hear them," Jimin whispered. "The voices, not just one anymore, hundreds. They're speaking my name like a prayer and a curse, like they know me." Jungkook didn't let go. He pressed his forehead to Jimin's. "You're with me, right here, not with them." Suddenly, the smoke pulled back, just slightly, and a shape emerged across the room. A tall figure, draped in something shifting and fluid like robes made of ash. No face, just a void where one should be, and a voice that was not a voice at all. "You promised silence, yet you speak." Jimin flinched. "No, I didn't mean it. I just wanted him back. I didn't understand the cost." The figure tilted, what could have been its head. "Silence was not for you. It was for the world." Jungkook stood between the figure and Jimin, heart thundering, arms out as if shielding him would matter. "What does that mean?" The figure moved forward without stepping, gliding instead, its presence bending the air around it. The smoke recoiled like it feared the very thing it served. "You asked for life," the voice said, but now it echoed through Jungkook's own chest. "But life requires balance." Death took note. Jimin clawed his way to his feet, gripping Jungkook's shirt. "I shouldn't have spoken to the fire," he said, his voice barely holding. "I gave away our secret, that's what it wanted." "Then why wait?" Jungkook demanded. "Why now? Why reveal all of this 6 years later?" The figure stilled. "Because the world remembered what you forgot." Jungkook's phone buzzed again. He pulled it out with trembling fingers. Another video. This time the title simply read, "The Uncut Ritual." He hit play. The footage was different this time, clearer, too clear. It was as if someone had been filming from the shadows of the cabin itself. The grainy quality of before was gone. Now it was crystal sharp, every emotion on Jungkook's face visible as he read from the book. But what shocked him more was who entered the frame next. Jimin. Not crying, not panicking. Reciting with him. Jungkook looked up, eyes wide. "You helped me." Jimin's face collapsed into grief. "I didn't mean to. I thought it was just a performance, a prank, something dumb. You were laughing when we started. You looked so calm. But then the flames turned blue. The air thinned. You stopped blinking." The video didn't lie. They had stood shoulder to shoulder. They had spoken in unison. They had both opened the door. Jungkook's breathing turned shallow. "All this time, I thought I was the one who doomed us." "I'm sorry," Jimin whispered. "I let you carry it alone. I was afraid if I told you the truth, you'd hate me." The figure pulsed with awareness, smoke dancing violently now, the machines around them vibrating so hard they shook on their bases. "Two debts, one price, choose." "No," Jungkook said immediately. "You're not taking either of us." The figure didn't move, but the pressure in the air grew heavier. Jungkook felt it crush against his chest like water rising in his lungs. His vision blurred. He dropped to one knee. "Stop," Jimin screamed, stepping forward. "Take me instead." I broke the silence. He didn't remember, but I did. I knew, and I said nothing. The figure paused, turned. "You would silence yourself forever." Jimin's throat bobbed. "If it means he lives, yes." "No," Jungkook gasped, forcing himself upright. "You don't get to be the martyr now. We both made the deal. We face it together." And then in the smoke, a shape appeared between them. A small one. A boy. No older than 13. His eyes were black pits, his mouth stitched shut, and in his hand he held the book. Jungkook's knees buckled again as recognition hit. "That's me." Jimin stepped back, shaking. No, it can't be." The boy opened the book, not with his hands, with his mind. Pages flipped, and both of them saw it. Not a ritual for power, not for protection. For possession. The kind that doesn't leave the body when the fire dies. Jungkook whispered, "It never left me, did it?" The boy slowly raised his stitched mouth. The threads began to unravel, one by one, as if preparing to speak for the first time in years. Jimin shouted, "Don't let it speak." Too late. The boy's mouth opened, and what came out was Jungkook's own voice. But not from now. From the night of the ritual. "Fear is the lock. I give you the key." The laundromat exploded into chaos. Machines burst open. Windows shattered. The world inverted itself in a scream. And then, silence. Not quiet. Absence. Like sound had never existed. Jungkook blinked, disoriented. He was lying on the floor, Jimin beside him, eyes open but unseeing. The smoke was gone. The figure was gone. But the book was there. And it was open. Jungkook sat up slowly, chest heaving. He touched Jimin's face. "Jimin," he whispered. Jimin blinked, but said nothing. "Jimin," Jungkook said louder. Still nothing. Then he saw the blood. A thin line trailing from Jimin's ear. "No," Jungkook breathed, voice trembling. "No, please." He shook him. "Nothing." He screamed. But no one heard. Because the price had been paid. Jimin was alive. But his silence was eternal. The world was too quiet. Even in the heart of Seoul, where noise was a constant, car horns, voices, footsteps on wet pavement, Jungkook heard nothing. Not the sirens outside. Not the hum of electricity. Not even his own breathing. He held Jimin in his arms, rocking him gently as if that alone could restore what had been taken. His skin was warm. His chest rose and fell, but his eyes, they stared past him. And his lips, once so full of defiance, of laughter, of whispered truths, were parted slightly. But no sound came out, not even a gasp. Jungkook pressed his forehead to Jimin's. "I'm here," he whispered, knowing Jimin couldn't hear, knowing the words would only echo inside his own skull. "I'm still here. I'll never leave again." The book sat only feet away, pages fluttering in an unseen wind. Its presence pulsed like a second heartbeat in the room. Still open, still waiting. He wanted to burn it. But he knew the truth now. Fire wasn't an ending. It was a beginning. He picked it up with shaking hands, expecting the chill of death, but it was warm. Like skin. Like it had absorbed everything that had ever been offered into it. And on the first page, now freshly inked in a language he somehow understood, was a single line. "Silence is never alone." Jungkook closed the book slowly, not in defiance, not in fear, but in understanding. The entity, whatever it had been, wasn't a demon, not in the way he once thought. It was a reflection, a mirror turned toward the parts of themselves they tried to bury. Shame, regret, fear, cowardice. It had only ever taken what they offered willingly. But the price was real, and it would keep collecting. Jungkook stood slowly and looked down at Jimin, who now stared up at him with eyes full of questions he couldn't ask. "I'll be your voice now," Jungkook said quietly. You carried my silence for years. Let me carry yours. And so he did. The videos online vanished overnight. No trace remained. The account that had posted them, the Seventh Oath, was scrubbed from existence as if it had never been created. Those who had watched the live stream forgot the specifics, remembering only that it was intense or beautifully weird. But no one could quote what had actually been said. The world moved on. But Jungkook didn't. He stopped performing, stopped appearing. Rumors swirled, burnout, injury, heartbreak. No one guessed the truth. He stayed by Jimin's side every day, speaking aloud to him, reading books, singing to him even when he knew the silence would never answer back. And Jimin listened. Even if he could no longer speak, he felt the words. In every brush of fingers, every shared glance, every moment where the world still reached for them through the silence. And one night, years later, when Jungkook returned from the rooftop to find Jimin watching him with tears in his eyes, tears he hadn't seen in so long, he sat beside him, took his hand, and smiled. "You're still in there," he said softly. Jimin nodded. And though no sound followed, his lips moved with purpose. "Thank you." The book stayed locked in a steel case in a place no one could find. Not destroyed, not buried. Because some stories aren't meant to be erased. Only remembered quietly. Together. Forever.